Hi, everyone. My name is Siri Srivas from Empowering Light Language, and I just finished a private session for one of the students that I work with. He's a 10th grader who has autism. He's been diagnosed with autism. Just phenomenal, phenomenal young man. His mother's present during the whole session. She's amazing. She's just been this amazing invitation and reminder to me of parents who really have their child's back, really to do whatever it takes to know their child more and to support them and for them to have a lot more ease. And I had given her a copy of the Would You Teach a Fish to Climb a Tree book last week. It was our first session last week. And, no point of view. I was like, this is an amazing resource. I had done a book club on it last summer. People seem to get a lot of benefit from it. They're really simple tools that might give you some clarity and ease for yourself and for your son. Let me know if you have any questions about it. I just kind of threw it out there, and I gave her a copy. I lent her a copy. And I told her, if you would like your own copy, here's a link to it. But how about you read a couple chapters, see what you get from it. And I walk into the session today, and he was really aggressive. And he was biting his hand a lot and just really agitated. And I told her, I asked her what was going on, what had changed. And she's like, ever through the whole weekend, he was having a rough time, a lot more aggressive. And he had broken out in like rashes and kind of like hives on the way to the session today. So I was super impressed that they even showed up because of the level of like agitation that he had. And I'm not sure if you've ever had a rash or hives. I used to have them constantly when I was chronically sick and chronically in pain. And it's like you can sense these like parasites and things coming out of your skin. It's like when it's at its worst, when it was at its worst for me at least, I felt like I just wanted to rip my skin off. Like there was just, and I was able to communicate way more effectively in a way that other people could receive more than this young man. And so he was really having a hard time. You could just see it. He was like biting his hand. He was so agitated. He was all of a sudden to grab my clothing, grab his mother's clothing. And before I talked to her about the book and checked in about, what she was able to read from the book and get from it, we started using some of the tools in the book to help calm him down. And one of them was just to lower our barriers and to keep ourselves really calm in the face of this obvious agitation that he was going through. And he was really upset. It's really not fun to have your skin be breaking out and itchy and red and all these different things. And he's a really strong guy. Like I said, he's in 10th grade. He's small for his age, yet he's still super strong. And he was grabbing us, and he was grabbing the clothes, and he was, like really just obviously trying to get our attention and agitated and really frustrated. And we were holding his hands, and we were saying hands down and calm, and we're speaking really, really calmly but very firmly. And then I went and I asked him, so what are you aware of, bud? What the moments where he wasn't screaming and biting, like when there would be these pauses of like silence where he was a little bit more receptive to hearing anything, because I wasn't going to ask him a question when he was at his like most agitated. It wasn't going to be received. And I asked him, so what are you aware of right now? And all of a sudden, after he was like this and he was looking down and he was just so wrapped up in the irritation, he looked up at me when I asked that. And it was like, he's like, wow. What? He was almost like he was asking himself, what am I aware of? And I was like, is any of this yours, honey? And he was just like, ugh, like that, like, ugh, like that. And he got agitated again. It wasn't immediate. You could see these, like he was taking it in, and I wasn't asking with any point of view. I wasn't asking knowing for sure that it was his or wasn't his or anything like that. I was just empowering him and showing mom how she could use some of the tools of being in the question for her child and having her barriers down and being calm to invite him to have more peace and calm himself and to have what was actually true for him. And it was just such a beautiful session because he was able to calm down. We were able to get him to sit at the table again and take some deep breaths. One of the things that because I asked her at the time when he was really irritated, I didn't know about the rashes quite to the same level yet. And so I was like, oh, well, how about we try to dissipate this as much as possible? Do you have any water? The mom said no. I said, okay, great. I took my water bottle, no worries. And she was like, well, he doesn't really drink water. And that's the case for a lot of these kids. They don't really drink water, or it's a lot more sugar or things like that they need. I was like, no problem. I think I have a packet of like Emergency, the vitamin C powder in my bag. I looked, the last one that I had it in there. I don't even really take it lately at all, but somehow it was in my bag. I was like, awesome. How does it get any better than this? And so I got my water bottle and I put some of the powder in there. I mixed it up and I was like, here you go, sweetie. Would your body like this? And he was quiet. And then I was like, yes or no? And he said, yes. I was like, okay, great. So he started drinking it and he just started calming down. And I was like, yeah, what would it take for you to move all of this stuff that's not working with your body right now? Just move it out as quickly as possible with ease, okay? Just keep going. And, in that last bit, I actually didn't say to him out loud. I just kind of said it in my head. And he was just like, okay. And he's like drinking the water, and we called it juice. So he would actually be willing to drink it. It was flavored water with that Emergency. One of the things that shifted is he was calmer. He was more himself. He started to smile and giggle. We're like, okay, cool. And all of this happened over the course of maybe 5 minutes. It wasn't that long. And you could see Mom astounded because I asked her to go to the other side of the table. And she was worried that he was going to like punch me or grab me and like hurt me. And I was like, it's okay. I'm okay. Go over there and have him see you calm. And you get even calmer. How does it get any better? Just like, I got this. I got you. I got him. We're all going to be here for each other. Just take a couple minutes. And I just put my hands on his back. And so he's drinking the quote unquote juice. And I put my hands on his back. And I just asked for whatever energy he required to go from behind me through my body to his body. I wasn't sure what energy was required, and you could just see his whole body just go. And then I was like, hey, okay, how does it get any better than that? Cool. What else would you like? Would you like some more juice? And he's like, okay, yes. He grabbed some more. So he kept periodically, and the whole time he's like drawing, and that calms him down. He's just beautiful. The way he writes and is like an artwork. I just want to put it on my walls. It's amazing. He has so many gifts. And so I'm just putting my hands on his back and I'm talking to Mom, and I'm just keeping my voice really calm, and I'm making sure to stay really super expanded and having my barriers down so he doesn't have anything to bang up against. And so as I'm having this session, I'm talking about what I'm being and choosing with Mom. And I was like, did you get a chance to read the book? How was that? Did you notice that I used some of the tools? Like, and I pointed those out to her, like asking him what he was aware of and staying really calm and expanding out and not reacting to what he was doing, but just being with what he was doing and choosing. And she was like, yeah, I noticed it. She's like, it's a lot of information, but it's really helpful to see what this looks like, what this can look like. Okay, cool. And then he started grabbing my hands and moving it above his head because I had it on the upper back. And so he was moving it here, but it wasn't for a squeeze, which is what I was initially thinking it was going to be, because he had been squeezing his head a lot, really agitated. And if you've ever worked or been around children with autism and young adults with autism, they'll do that sometimes, and it'll help them reset their nervous system, and it kind of calms them down. So they're doing what they know might work to help calm them down, but that's not what he was asking of me. He had me put my hands on his head, and all of a sudden the energy started running even more. And I was like, wow, this is really strong. And I told Mom, I was like, you might have read in the book that there's this tool called access bars. And in this tool, there's 32 points on the head. And some of the points where he's putting my hands are where some of these points are, and they're running. And you notice you're getting like how much he's changing because he's letting go of these things that he's aware of that are agitating him. So it's not necessarily just the physical. He's picking up on other people's thoughts, feelings, and emotions. He's super, super aware, and it's messing with him. And then it sometimes then will have a physical actualization where it's coming out of his pores and of his skin. And I was like, that was definitely the case for me. I suspect that might be the case for him. It's not always. Let's ask some more questions about it. I was like, maybe we can go and see a naturopathic doctor. Have you considered that? She's like, I've never even heard of that. What is that? So we talked about that. It's like, maybe you can get some cleanses and we can cleanse out some of the metals and whatever else isn't working with his body so that he doesn't have these rashes and breakouts that might also be then impacting his behavior. And I'm saying all this and I'm touching his head, and he periodically moved my hands then back to his back, and then he'd move it again here. And his mom was just like awestruck. She was just like, wow. Because he was asking very clearly and very gentle the whole time. He was grabbing my hands very gently, telling me, please give me energy here. Please give me energy here. Please, I'd like this here. He was very clearly communicating what he required. It was amazing. And it was just this undeniable shift in his body and his being and his world. And it was wonderful to see the mom. She was all of a sudden able to smile and relax even more and just like, oh, this is what's possible. Okay. And I was like, well, what if it could be that shorter and shorter and shorter when he has those aggressive moments, when he has those tantrums, and you could have this ease more often, because I suspect that this happens quite a bit for her, where she's having to deal with this young man who's super strong, punching her, grabbing her clothes, being really agitated, biting his hand, not really able to communicate to her verbally what he requires, but he was telling us on so many different ways what was going to work, what was going to help shift things. And so I was pointing it out to her so that she can acknowledge where he was communicating to her outside of that session, so that maybe she could actually meet his needs and support him with more quickly, a lot quicker moving forward, and have that more ease so she's not worrying so much, because there's just a lot of worry in her world and in a lot of the parents that I work with kids that have these different special capacities. And then he was able to go back and he kept drinking some more of his juice. And we were able to get some of the targets done that we wanted. We were looking at his expressive language, and he was able to start using sentences. And by the end of the session, he had made a lot of progress just in the one session. And Mom was like, wow, I thought he was going to need a lot more cues than he does now. Like, it's like, yeah, in the beginning we were cueing him a lot more, and then he got really independent. So how does it get any better than that? And he was able to transition and leave where we were with ease. There was one moment though. There was one moment where we're leaving. We were actually at a public library. We used one of their rooms, their beautiful library here in Savannah, Georgia. And, we were leaving, and Mom was saying, oh, I'm doing this, because she was having her hands kind of behind his back while he was walking, and she was walking next to him, but kind of really attentive, having her hands behind his back. And she was like, well, I'm doing this because he's a runner. Sometimes he runs away. And immediately he turned to her and started grabbing her shirt really aggressively again. And I turned to him and I was like, I get it. That's a projection and expectation. But that's not really who you are, is it? And he looked at me and he kind of like nodded, and he stopped being aggressive. And he walked to the elevator and left down from there with a lot calmer. But I didn't even get a chance to see the mom's face. But it just was this amazing moment for me. Like, wow, it's not fun when people are projecting and expecting stuff from you based on what you've ever chosen or done before. Like, and a lot of us working with kids and just playing with kids and being with all these kids, including all the parents I work with, they do that all the time. They're trying to use the past to guide what they should do and choose with the kids now. And what if that actually wasn't relevant anymore? for him, that's what what I get. He was telling us in that moment when he was calm for like a long time by that point. We hadn't seen any aggression. And as soon as she projected and expected that he was going to run off, and it was with a kind of the energy of judgment, like, oh, he's going to do this and it's going to like all these people and it's a public space and da da da. Well, he got angry. He's like, that's not me. I don't appreciate that. And it was interesting because as soon as I acknowledged that that wasn't him and that I could see that that wasn't him, and he immediately, like within a few seconds, stopped being aggressive, let go of her shirt and kept walking. And so just please consider, like, is it fun for you to be projected and expected upon when you have projections and expectations impelled upon you? Is that fun for you? And consider that with anyone, not just kids, when you're doing projections and expectations on them, what does that create? And it's amazing what these tools created in this one child in this 1 hour with him. And I'm just super excited to see what else shows up. He's, like I said, he has so many amazing gifts. I could go on and on about him. We were just in the second session, and I just get that he's such a gift. He's such a gift. And I'm just really, really honored to be able to talk with him and his mom and work with them and create something totally different for all of us. So how does it get any better than that? I mentioned this, and I wanted to do this video to illustrate and to invite you to play around with being in the question a little bit more and asking the kids that you love and work and play with what they're aware of, and see what that shows up. Just by asking the question and acknowledging that they might be aware of something can create a lot of amazing things sometimes. And asking him, so who does that belong to when they're agitated, when they're not being them? I've had kids where I've asked that question and they actually verbally say, I'm being Papi, I'm being, my sister, I'm being so-and-so, this neighbor, and they'll say the name of the person. And then I ask them, well, could you be you, please? I really enjoy and love playing with so-and-so right now, Billy, Sally. And I've had kids be like, okay, and then go back to actually being them. It can be that fast if you play with this tool with no point of view. And if they say, I'm going to keep being this, I'm like, okay, well then I'm going to choose what I'm going to choose given what you're choosing. So those are the two tools that today were super impactful. What are you aware of, and who does this belong to? And let me know what shows up for you when you play around with these tools for yourself, because you can use it for yourself, for the kids that you work with, for your enjoyable others, your partners, your coworkers, whoever you choose to use it with. I'd love to get some feedback and know what it creates for you, and also let me know what other topics you'd like me to do videos on. My target is to make 30 videos this month. I might not post them all this month, but I'd really like to just play around with actually letting y'all know all the different ways that these tools can be used in the world, and how amazing the changes that have been showing up that I don't actually talk about with everybody. I don't always get the chance to, as soon as it happens, do a video on it. And it's just been amazing what's shown up using these access consciousness tools. I'm so, so grateful. And what else is possible? So thank you so much for watching the video. Enjoy the rest of your day, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are.